But if you take into account, like when I started getting into filmmaking, that was like 10 years ago or more. I've done more in the last 3 to 4 months than I've done in those last 5 years. Because of this course, I was actually like able to apply for BFS, right? And also like there was the scholarship thing going on and I needed a portfolio and stuff. And because of this course, I actually had one like in the span of 3 months. I did get a tuition reduction, which was really cool because of my submission. And a few months, I'm moving to Vancouver to study film production. So, that's very cool. My name is Andres Gonzalez. I am from Baja California, Mexico, which is like 90 miles down the Tijuana border. I've been into films all my life, but filmmaking in particular, I didn't really find out that's the part I enjoyed until I guess my teens. I must have been around 13 to 15 years old when I figured out that's kind of the route I wanted to take. I've always been into drawing, and so I'm pretty decent at drawing. I guess that evolved into what I like is actually telling stories, and then that evolved as well into I don't just want to draw. I want to tell stories in all shapes and forms. So that includes movies, cartoons, video games, whatever. I like all the mediums. So I am self-taught. I have people who have always backed me up, who have always supported me, and so every time I like go into a filmmaking endeavor, they will always like that support group really keeps me or really allows me to do this in an easier way, I guess. But no, I've always kind of been like anti going to schools for stuff. Like for example, I mentioned I draw, and my parents would always want me to go into like a drawing school, and I always like rejected the idea because, well, first of all, Ensenada is very small, the town I live in. We're not really like renowned for our artistic abilities, I guess. First of all, get you shooting is the first step into like for me to study filmmaking, and I am also working towards getting my film degree at VFS later this year, or actually later the next year. Yeah. So my main challenge with filmmaking before GTS was basically myself. I would always get in the way of me completing a project. And I've tried before a few times. Every time it was a personal project, it was always hard for me to what's the word? Force myself to finish it. There was no I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the word. Commitment. Yeah. So yeah, I was trying to say commitment. It was always hard for me to commit to finishing a project because it was personal, right? So no stakes involved, no people waiting for the project, nothing to motivate me to finish it. And I guess that's sort of why I got into freelance filmmaking, which is more commercial filmmaking, because that kind of forced me to throw out projects, and I enjoyed the practice of it. Of course, the money wasn't bad, and it just gave me an excuse to get more involved with this world. And I do appreciate like everything I've learned throughout. But after a while, and I guess it's worth noting that I've been working on it for like 5 years now. So after a while, it does get pretty exhausting working on things you're not interested in. And I guess that was that, and along with other current events in my life that kind of finally pushed me to seek out like this help, right? Something to motivate me to actually get to work on things that I enjoy doing. So I guess this is also like new territory, right? Like get you shooting. The a course has taught us to plan these ahead and to balance like an efficient work style. That's a luxury that I don't usually have when working with live stuff, because it's just like, film what's happening, right? And hope that you get like the best stuff and hope that you have enough coverage. So yeah, it's different, but at the same time, I guess I'm prepared for that kind of stress. I knew that all I needed was something to make me commit to it. So if I signed up for this course, I knew that I would this would give me the excuse to finally get to work. And then also the fact that it was, well, that it was Darius's course kind of inspired more confidence in this, because I've been following you for probably for like 10 years now, like since like 2017, maybe 2016. So when I saw your video, honestly, it was like the video you posted on YouTube where you mentioned that you were opening the course. I was excited, and I was like at first I wasn't even gonna take it. I wasn't even gonna try it because it's just like people publish this stuff all the time, like things happening, whether it be a course or whether it be I forget the word anyway. And so I thought it wasn't for me. Then I took like another look, like a step back, and I thought about it twice, and I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna throw my email in there. Maybe he'll contact me, and maybe it'll work out. I honestly screwed up. I sent a first email. I don't know if you got this, and I accidentally pressed enter, and like it sent the whole thing without like filling out the blanks. And I was like, no, like, like maybe this is a sign to like just like give up. So getting feedback on my projects was very exciting for me. The first feedback I got from Darius was it was actually like private feedback. And I got excited because, well, first of all, it was like dedicated to my short film, and also it went pretty well. He enjoyed it, and that really motivated me to, you know, want to try to do the next thing. Honestly, it kind of felt like watching one of his videos, right? Where like there's all this theory that you get to learn, but once the theory is actually directed to your flaws and to your project, it's a lot easier to pinpoint what's lacking and what's working and how to build upon that for the next project. And also that philosophy of just like letting go, like doing something, finishing it, and just move on. That's also been like tremendous help, because it's always, I guess that's like the artist's curse, right? Where you want things to look perfect, you want your vision to be executed to like its fullest extent, but at some point you got to realize that there's like real life limits and that's not possible. So just move on, or go to the next thing and do better next time. And that's something that I think this course really enforces. And I really appreciate that. First experience, or my experience shooting my first project for the Get to Shooting course was actually very insightful. Again, I realized my own enemy is myself, and I remember getting very overwhelmed, right? So there's all these factors that go into play. Like, well, for starters, it's your first project, so you really want to impress like the whole group, right? And then also you like, this is my first project, like my first personal project in a long time. So also I want to do a good job for myself. And then you have all these ideas and you want to make it work, and you at some point you realize it doesn't, and you got kind of like throw something out there. And so coming to terms with that and realizing that, I was just overwhelming myself and making it more complicated than it had to be, really set up what one of my next projects would look like, and how not to stress about them, and how not to overreact when things don't pan out how you want them to. And then also what really helped was the structure of the first assignments. And that really helped me kind of like, zero in on what's important, what isn't. It helped me like stay on the path, right? Like the first task, I was trying to do like all this stuff, like I wanted to like make a character, and I wanted to like add background to it, but like with not and stuff. And I was trying to like do like a Better Call Saul thing, and it was too much, And turns out like simple was better, and I did like the least amount of work, but at the same time I was like it did require work, right? Like I put lights out, I threw the drone out. We shot at golden hour because it was supposed to be sunrise. It was still a lot of work, but the idea was simple enough where it was manageable, right? We didn't require acting, we didn't require extras, we didn't require like all this stuff that would have just blown it all out of proportion. So I even like forced myself to like do it on iPhone, because I don't even want to focus on lenses and stuff. It was just like I want to focus on the story, on the narrative, on making the video make sense. And so like the first two projects I did them on iPhone. The third project, the only reason I did it with camera was because I needed the shallow depth of field thing. I mean, if I could have done it with my phone, I would have done it with my phone as well. And I remember that first course with the rest of the guys. Well, it used to be just guys. Now there's more people. I remember being very intimidated. The first short film I saw, I think, was Keith's video, where the light bulb goes out. And I was like, dang, like this looks really good. And I was like, I'm not sure I can pull that off. And then I saw Richard Weeks's video, and that also looked really good. And then I think the last video where I was like, damn, this is hard, was Ben's video, where his dad was like building a box. And I was just like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna try my best. I'm just gonna try and put stuff out there and see if it works. What it was like to see my peers improving and myself. Honestly, it was a cool experience. I think it wasn't until the where I saw Richard Weeks's video, and I saw like this huge leap of improvement, right? And I even mentioned that, I think, at the office hours meeting, I realized that like everybody was gradually improving, taking the notes, and doing more clever stuff. Again, doing like simple stuff, but effective. right? Also, Hunter Harness's video, that video was pretty cool. Like, yeah, just like all these people improving, and I thought that was pretty cool. When it comes to myself, it's a little different, I guess, because it's me, right? My improvement has been more on the theoretical side, where that's where I've noticed it because there's a lot of things I didn't know that now I know, or things that I knew but didn't know how to put into practice. But when it comes to actually making the film, I feel like like in terms of the things I'm able to make, I feel like I'm at the same place, but like like evolved in a sense. But it's something that I realize will get better after more practice, right? So I've only done 3 projects, and it's something that I think after exposure to more shoots, I will definitely like, get the hang of because of this course. Right. So it's weird. It's complicated. I know that if I put the time into it and I actually work towards getting these results, the expected results of the course, I will get them eventually. Maybe you just don't get them during the course, right? You got to keep going after that. Yeah, and especially like in this sort of career where there's so many routes and nothing's like set in stone. And so all you want is just someone to guide you a little bit. There's so many people involved in this career path. It's also hard to find these people, right? Like here in my hometown, I only know like one other guy or 2 other guys who like movies, right? Or like making movies. I know people who like movies, but making them is like a whole nother thing. It's always nice to find a community as well that it's like gets excited because of movies and is here because they want to be here. Watching my peers' work get breakdown was very insightful for me. A lot of times I have an idea of what's off, right? Sometimes I'll say something, sometimes I won't, but it's always reassuring when other people have the same idea. And so that reinforces the fact that like my film critique abilities aren't too bad, right? So it gives me like that ego boost that I need to realize, no, I'm actually like pretty competent at this thing. And so watching my peers' projects and watching it get breakdown has been very helpful in that sense. It's not just me thinking this, and it's not just my opinion, right? It's like there's a reason this works this way, these rules exist, do this, do that, whatever. They're just guidelines. You don't have to follow rules, but there's an instinct to it when something works or when something doesn't work. And building up that instinct has also been something that I've acquired from watching my peers' projects, right? And it's also vocabulary thing, right? Where I used to not be able to know what words to put. Like when something was off, it's like I don't know what's off exactly. I just know that this isn't working. And now I have that vocabulary. I've built that language up, and now I'm able to like actually communicate what's not working, or at least I've gotten better at it, right? So yeah. That's another thing that I think has really been helpful. Now, for me, a systematic approach is a huge thing. I guess it's just like how my brain works, but I need order to be able to work. And if I don't have that, it's always a very big chore for me to like. So now it's like, oh, I have to organize stuff before I get to work. And that's something I signed up for, right? The promotional video for the Get You Shooting course Darius mentions, where it's a step-by-step process. And that was like one of the main things that caught my eye, because it's always hard starting a project. But if you have a system, or more or less a system that you can refer to, that's a huge help. And that's like, I don't know, like 30% of the work, right? Just like being able to get started without the hassle of organizing stuff. One of my favorite things about this. Watching this video, this interview on Wong Kar-wai, which is a big influence on me. I really enjoy his movies. And he talks about how he wishes he could be a Hitchcock in terms of his planning, or his system in terms of projects that he makes. But I think he very early on realized that wasn't him. He's more of a guided improvisation kind of guy. He'll kind of tell the actors what he wants, but he also lets the actors make that movie, like whatever movie they want to make. Hitchcock was like the other way, right? He was very methodical. Everything was like planned. Of course, the actors had a lot to do with it, but it was always like what he intended the movie to be. I guess same goes for Tarantino. Anyway, I realized I fall in line more with those directors, the ones who plan everything, than the ones who don't, because otherwise I'm just going to be crying on the set because I don't know, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. Okay. So at 4 months into the course, I do not feel that I have found my voice. I know what I like, I know what I dislike, and I know what like moods I go for, but I definitely don't think I have a voice yet. And I honestly don't think I'll gain that now. I think it's something that I'll develop over time, and it's something I've looked into. And I know it's something you can't really force. It just kind of grows out of like showing people your perspective, right? I guess the reason why I'm hesitant to say that I have a voice right now in terms of filmmaking style is because I've only made very few movies. It would be very premature of me to say, yeah, this is my thing. Especially when you look at the stuff that I've made and see all the influences. It's still at a point where those influences are very noticeable. It's still very influence oriented. So yeah, I don't think I have my voice yet, but I am definitely working towards it. To be a part of a program that emphasizes shooting more, I definitely think that's something that I appreciate. So I mentioned I'm very theoretical, and I like studying stuff, or even like passive studying where I'll just film theory and stuff, but it never really stays in my head for too long. I guess like the overall idea stays in my head, but when it comes to specifics, I always tend to lose it. So what I really appreciated about this course was that, well, it's a bite-sized thing for each project. They feed you enough information to get by the current one, right? And I definitely think that I wouldn't have retained that the information that I know now had I just been studying it instead of actually applying it periodically, right? Through different film projects. In terms of narrative filmmaking, before the Get Your Shooting program, I had only done probably, and I wouldn't even call it narrative filmmaking. One was a documentary film, which I mean does have narrative, of course, and I think that was the biggest one, which by the way I made in like 2021, so it's been a while. And the other project was one I never finished again because I got in my own way, I guess. I shot it during pandemic actually in 2020. It's still in the editing, and I've never gotten myself to like finish it. I hope to do so soon though. And then during the Get Your Shooting program, it's only a three project difference. I've only done three short films aside from the other ones. I know it doesn't seem like much, but I mean for me it's a milestone, especially when you take into account that I'm talking about the last 5 years, only last 5 years. But if you take into account like when I started getting into filmmaking, that was like 10 years ago or more. I've done more in the last 3 to 4 months than I've done in those last 5 years, I guess is what my point is. And also, I'm currently working on my first like feature length film. Before that, I want to make it into a short film as well. Kind of like a demo thing. This is something that I started working on last year, but kind of like lost it a little bit, with a few of my buddies, and we just kind of like it kind of went off the rails. And because of this course, I was able to kind of like pick it back up, ground it a little bit more. Ever since it's been looking more hopeful, right? So that's something that I would probably have not done had I not gone into the film course. No, that's actually something that Get Your Shooting has reinforced a lot, doing the homework, right? I'm aware that if I hadn't studied up on the course and if I hadn't taken the notes into account, my projects wouldn't have been as successful as they were. The main thing I was hoping to get was just an excuse to make a movie for myself. I guess I've never really had a reference to see if my work is good or not, just like family support and stuff. Most of the times they'll say they like it. So actually putting things out there, having feedback, and getting better for the next project, that's something that's I think very valuable and something that I've taken advantage of in this course. Because if it were for that, I mean, honestly, you wouldn't be able to make progress as easily. So that's something that I hope to get from this course, and I definitely got in return on. What I would say to someone thinking of joining GTS is that you definitely get your money's worth in terms of the investment. I view like the time factor, the fact that it takes a while to finish the course, something that's mostly dependent on how hard you work. So you really got to commit. When you go into it, you have to be willing to set some time aside and do it. And your like the wins will come up in accordance to how much effort you put into it as well. So I think that's very important to keep in mind. So if you're thinking of not really putting like all that much effort into it, yeah, maybe it's not for you. But if you're serious about this is definitely like a great, I was gonna say like a great first step, but not even that. I mean, honestly, if you already have experience, it's a great way to like reinforce skills and knowledge. Also, the community is great. Everything's just like all around A plus, right? Because of this course, I was actually like able to apply for VFS, right? And also like there was the scholarship thing going on, and I needed a portfolio and stuff. And because of this course, I actually had one. Like in the span of 3 months, I did get a tuition reduction, which was really cool because of my submission. And a few months, I'm moving to Vancouver to study film production. So, that's very cool.